It's Friday. It's Halloween. There's a lot of good energy in the universe, I think, as we round out the rest of the year. And I am incredibly excited to talk to you about the hang.
About the hang.
The hang, the art of the hang. Because this is what we're focused on right now, right? With Four Walls is pledging to hang. I guess I was laughing where you're like, well, actually it is a brand campaign in the video.
It can be both. I mean, look, the thing that we really have realized through this process, it's really highlighted for us just how important that is. Like, I think I took it for granted because I grew up at a time where computers weren't as much of a thing, obviously. So you could watch only so much TV before it was time to run out of the house and hop on your bike and go see your friends. You know what I mean? And so, the hang is exactly that, right? I think it's very tempting these days. Look, screens are really an exciting world to live in, right? It's a big dopamine rush, scrolling through all the things that are available to you and all the different applications. You have so many options. You got your video game universe that you're into. You got to whatever weird video game you're playing where you got to take care of your crops. You got to make sure your crops are taken. I don't know what the hell's going on in that world. You got video games, you got movies, you got TV, you got Instagram, you've got TikTok. I mean, we're talking about evolution here, man. We were meant to live and thrive in tribes. We're meant to be around each other. We need to be in each other's physical space. Otherwise, I think we start to get a little crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, I think the chemistry that comes out of a good hang, it manifests itself in everybody that is a part of that thing, that moment, I think like the thing that's getting lost is how the intentions of a good hang are kind of all about core memories at the end of the day. And if you're not creating core memories, what are you using your time for?
I could not agree more. I think that's exactly right. And not only core memories, but shared memories. I think when you spend your time, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like if I catch myself, scrolling through Instagram for too long, it starts kind of slow. Like I'll see something I find interesting. I'll watch the whole thing, and then I'll scroll the next thing. The longer I'm on, the quicker I find that I'm scrolling past things. And some people are conscious of it, some are not. But I think it puts us in a very sort of anxious, dopamine hungry state. When you get together with your friends and with the people that you love, the people that fill your bucket, time slows down a little bit.
Yeah, it totally slows down. And I think like you just sort of realize what actually is precious to you, what isn't. And that's where I feel like, you've had so many incredible experiences over the course of just in starting Four Walls, where you get to kind of reconnect in a different way with the Always Sunny crew as a venture beyond just, what's on the screen. And I'm kind of curious, like, what have been some of the good hangs with like actually bringing a wonderful whiskey brand into life? And like, what are some of those like core memories over the last couple of years of getting the message out about Four Walls? It's very different from what, the day-to-day of showbiz is.
Yeah, well, I think, look, I mean, I think we're just as guilty as anybody else of neglecting the hang. And in our particular case, it's often because we've got families and we live far apart from each other, three of us. So honestly, for me, I mean, for all three of us, the thing that has, without a doubt, been the most rewarding about this is of course, it's been, going and hanging with people that are fans of the show and getting to meet them and, hear how our work has impacted their lives. I mean, that's just a beautiful thing, to get that kind of feedback. But it's also been a really great opportunity for us to hang out in ways that we used to hang out when we had less obligations, right? When we didn't have as many things taking up our time or that required our attention. And the three of us would sit around or go to a bar together and get drinks. And, so to get to reconnect with that part of our friendship has been amazing. I mean, it's been so great for us to connect on that different level.
I'm going to sound like a little bit of a weirdo here, but I actually witnessed one of your hangs last year at the Cosm here in Los Angeles at the Wrexham when the Wrexham game came. And I was literally right behind you guys, like during it. Whenever, there was that game-winning goal in the last minute and you turn around like this, you're loving it. Like it's an amazing sports moment. And right there, we raised a glass of Four Walls for that celebratory moment.
Yes, indeed, we did. Oh yeah, I forgot about the four walls aspect of that game. That was really fun too.
Yeah.
For us, I mean, of course, this is a campaign that was born out of our love of this brand and whiskey, but really, this is just an excuse to promote. I mean, it's both, right? It's like for me personally, and this is drinking's not for everybody, and that's okay. It's not really our intention to promote drinking as much as it is our intention to get people in the same space together. And traditionally speaking, bars were just a great place to do that. It was a place where you could go to any given bar and there were, Wall Street folks there and there were steel workers there, right?
Yeah.
And they all congregate in the same place and would sometimes bond over, a couple beers and a couple whiskeys or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it requires that. It's just another reason to get together.
Yeah, I think so starting with that reason, one of the things that I think people sometimes get a little bit of a hang up on, especially in the world where we're all so instantly available to each other with communication devices, is just the text. All right. How do you initiate a text? What is I think that's the hurdle. It's once you start, you're usually good to go. But I think people kind of have a little bit of a block in their head. But with how you actually do initiate a hang, everybody kind of thinks it needs to be some big grand thing. The reality is it's actually just a simple day-to-day. It's more about the person and the people than necessarily the what or why. So I'm kind of curious, do you have any, let's dip into maybe some lore here, but do you have any pointers on texting to begin the hang?
That's funny. It's funny you bring that up because when I first moved to Los Angeles in 2001, I barely knew Rob and Charlie. We knew each other a little bit from New York. I knew Charlie a little bit better than I knew Rob because we had both tested for that 80s show together and got to know each other just a little bit through that process of trying to book that TV show. Whereas Rob, I just had seen him at auditions and we chatted and we had some mutual friends, so we kind of knew each other. So I moved here in the fall of 2001 because that 80s show got picked up and I was like, okay, I'm just going to move out here for a little while at least or stay if I love it. But a couple months later, Rob moved out and he called me out of the blue. And I don't think I knew that he and I had the same manager, but we also had the same manager. And he was like, hey, I got your number from Nick. That's our manager. And I just moved out here to LA also with my buddy, Chris Backus. And, we're going to this party tonight. We should hang out. You do want to hang out. So this is a guy who I barely knew, who didn't really know that many people in Los Angeles, who just out of the blue was like, I'm just going to call this dude because I don't know. Maybe we'd had some fun interactions in the past, nothing crazy, but he was like, he's one of the only people I know in LA. So sometimes it's just about taking that step. I think the longer we don't hang out with each other or less frequently we hang out with each other, the more we get in our own little world and our own little space. And it gets more and more awkward to reach out to somebody. You feel stupid. You don't want to be rejected, whatever it is. It's just kind of you got to set that aside and just think about what do I want? What do I want to do? I want to hang out with my friends. I want to hang out with my buddy. So you just got to initiate. You just got to do it. You got to take that step. And I've got friends that are a little flaky and sometimes it's tough to pin them down, and I'll text them and I'll be like, I want to see you guys. I want to hang out, and they're like, yeah, cool. Let's do it. And then I'm like, right. Okay. Let's pick a day. And they're like, oh yeah, let's do that.
This is why men play golf.
Yeah. Golf. I do think that is a huge reason why people play golf. It's an opportunity to, look, you most golf courses it's busy enough to where you got to get together a foursome or you have to show up with two people and take on two strangers, so it is
also
cool.
You have a forced time. You have to be there. It's the mechanics of how you actually play are such a great forced tag. And then it's also a block of time. So when you're done, you can go back to whatever it is you need to go back to.
Yeah. I think it's also for anybody out there who maybe didn't come up the way that we did. We didn't have screens. And so we weren't, I think, as isolated. I think there's no denying, though, that we all desire that we all desire that real human connection. Look at just how we interact with each other online versus how we interact with each other in person. The things that people will say to each other online are just outrageous compared to the things that what they would say to that person if they were actually sitting across from them. That tells you all you need to know. We need to get together. We got to hang out. And, Look, I don't think alcohol is for everybody, but it is a great social lubricant.
Totally.
I'm a believer that if used properly, it can be a great way of look. It's also a talking. Whiskey in particular also it happens to be like a connoisseur's drink, right? It's the kind of thing where you're like, oh, dude, have you tried this whiskey? Or like, have you tried this whiskey cocktail? Like, whiskey is just an amazing category, and for me personally, it's always been something that has been a link in a lot of different hangs that I had coming up,
A part of a great hang, you have beverages, you have like a good time, and I keep sounding like a 40-year-old Gen Z kid by saying lore. You have lore and chemistry, and I think like one of the things that you guys did that leaned really well into this idea of like, previous work, chemistry, friendship, etc., was the podcast. Obviously, where you're able to talk about, just making Always Sunny, the act of how much time and love and commitment and hard work went into it. And I'm kind of curious, when you get together with Rob and Charlie and the gang and everything like that, these days, what are the memories that you lean into that like, of just being together, not necessarily a moment in the show or something like that, but like, is there a specific memory that like is the inside joke amongst you that ties back to the show?
Oh, wow. Interesting. I think I understand your question, or at least the spirit.
I phrased it in a pretty terrible way. You guys have a lot of inside jokes, and I think a lot of friend groups have tried to mimic what that has looked like amongst themselves and the dynamics of their own friend group. But characters aside, how do you guys talk about your own inside jokes? Like, what are some of those? Like, I think that's such an interesting thing for people outside of it. That went away too much. I don't want you to, be
implicate myself.
Yeah, don't implicate yourself, of course. But like, I think like that's such an interesting thing of any dynamic is like, inside jokes, like once those are established, you roll with them for life.
Yeah. I mean, look, without getting into specifics, I know that certainly my friendship with Rob, one of the things that I think like made us both realize that we belonged together is because we both just have a very twisted sense of humor. And he and I both really enjoy the combination of humor and shock value. So we often say things to each other that are just so outrageous. It's almost a challenge. Like, I dare you not to laugh at how fucked up this is. You know what I mean? So that has definitely been something that bonded us. And Charlie's on that wavelength too.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? Have there ever been moments where you guys are like bullshitting and you're pushing the shock value hard, and then there's a passerby that like happens to like catch a stray of that?
Yeah. Well, you know what the beautiful thing is? I don't know for sure if what I'm about to say is true, but I suspect that it's got to have something to do with it. So maybe this is a weird thing to say about ourselves, but I really do believe this. Look, what I was going to say is the three of us are in real life strive to be good citizens, good people, good, you know what I mean? To treat people the right way. I hope if you were to really dig, into the internet, you're really not going to find many things, if any, about the three of us being dickheads, because we're not. We treat people with respect, and we have genuine love in our hearts for each other and for the people that we work with, and genuine gratitude and appreciation, And I think that is the general attitude that we carry into not only the workplace, but just the world in general. And I think that's an energy that people pick up on. I think they can feel that, I've always said this about Danny DeVito too. It was always fascinating to me when we first started working with Danny to see how people would react to him. They just love him. They just love him. They love him. They love him. They love him. But if you really look at the characters that he's played over his wonderful career, most of them have been despicable pieces of shit.
Yes.
So then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what is that? What is that? How can you have played such despicable pieces of shit your whole life and yet people love you? I think it's because that the person that he really is somehow still comes through. What I'm getting at with that is that I think even if people did overhear some of our more outrageous, boundary pushing jokes, that's just us trying to get a rise out of each other. There's no hate.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a line for us too, right? When I say boundary pushing and all that, there's a line for us too, but will we push it a little bit further when it's just the three of us than we would in front of an audience? Yeah, sure. Why not? It's part of what gets our engine running.
It's really funny because one of the things I wanted to ask you about was it kind of ties into that sense of humor. I noticed years ago on your Spotify Wrapped that Ween was one of your favorite bands that you listened to. Ween is the ultimate band to me that embraces that sense of humor. I mean, down to Being Brown, the idea of what Brown in the Ween universe looks like.
Yeah. I agree. I've always gravitated towards any artist, and bands in particular, I would say fall under this category, but they just don't seem to give a fuck what people think of it. They're literally doing it to amuse themselves. Yes. Ween is making music because they're this is amusing to me. And some people will get it and some people won't, and that level of authenticity, I think people are craving that, because I think too many artists are trying to do what they think is going to work or what they think is going to hit, and so we tried to take that into Sunny from the very beginning. It was okay, well, let's just make a show that we think is funny. And if people find it funny, then, we're onto something. But right from the beginning, just felt like it needed to come from that place. Also, the only thing we could recreate over many, many seasons, because you can't constantly be answering the question of what do people want and then authentically making that. You just got to do what you love, and Ween is one of those bands, it's why I always loved David Bowie. The dude was just always on his own trip, and recently the Viagra Boys, and they're just fucking wild. Faith No More.
I would throw King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard out there if they're on your radar yet. They are. Yeah,
I haven't listened to them enough. I've given them a little bit of a spin, but I need to dig more into that too, because that keeps coming up.
What is your favorite Ween album?
Ooh, my favorite. That's a tough call because they're all so different. I mean, probably the Mollusk. I think it's just maybe musically the most beautiful of all of them. It's just so damn catchy and so weird and so thematically specific. It's just great. The first album I ever heard of theirs was Chocolate and Cheese. And that one just absolutely blew my mind. That one has a special place in my heart.
Baby Bitch is one of the greatest, most.
Baby Bitch is incredible. That whole album is just but that's the other thing I love about them too, is they're all over the place. They're incredibly talented musicians, be able to play in that many different genres. I also love.
They're also playing an act too. That's the thing that I think that also always blows my mind is that Dean and Gene Ween their character.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people. There's probably a lot of people don't even realize that's not their real names and that they're not brothers. Yeah.
One final question here for you. Thank you again so much for your time. Bars are so crucial to a great hang. What are the elements, in your opinion, of an excellent bar? How do you know a bar is the one? If you will, and a bar is going to facilitate an excellent hang.
This is going to sound, really sort of vague in a way, but it's just for me, a lot of the times it's just the vibe that you get. But oftentimes that vibe is set by the servers or the bartenders. They setting the tone for the whole place. Now, obviously music, right? If a bar plays shitty music, I'm out.
Done.
I'm out. Gonna listen to shitty music all night. I'm just not, but if the bar's got pretty decent music, bartenders that also seem to be having fun, right? If the people that work there seem like they enjoy working there, it makes me feel like I'm in a good place and it puts me at ease. And, I tend to just really respond to that, But also a good karaoke night. That good trivia night's always fun,
You obviously know LA. I live in Culver City. Have you been to the Backstage Bar and Grill karaoke by the Sony lot?
No, which is surprising because I live not that.
The karaoke nights there are one of the most legendary dive bar karaoke's I've ever experienced.
Oh, that's dope, man.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Aside.
That's cool.
Cool. Glenn, thank you so much, man. I hope I didn't talk over you too much. I really appreciate your time, man. And it's cool to learn more. Great to meet you. And it's also cool to learn more about, how you guys are getting Four Walls into the world, man. It's such a cool endeavor. It's such a noble mission to bring people together in this way.
I think so too. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, it's just something that we're feeling more and more for ourselves and for the world in general. And, it was also born of the fact that it brought us back together to hang outside of the confines of the show.
Text your friends. That's it.
Make a
Text
plan
your friends.
and show up.
Awesome.
That's all you got.
Dude, love it. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Have a great weekend and a happy Halloween to you.
Yeah, man. Nice to meet you. Maybe one of these days we'll actually have a real hang.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. Sounds good.
All right, Brandon.
Thank you so much. See you,
Yeah,
see you,
thank
Glenn.
you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Bye.